Racing takes place out at Hollywoodbets Kenilworth on the summer course on Saturday, the 23rd of March 2024. We've got 9 races on the program. It is a doubleheader racing alongside Turfantine, and that preview will be done with Alistair Cohen, which you can tune in and watch on Gallop TV on YouTube. And this preview I'm doing with Graham Hawkins. And Graham, how are you doing? And obviously looking forward to the card on Saturday. It looks to be a competitive day's racing, but hopefully we can steer the guys in the right direction.
Yes, hi, Raheel. All well here in the Western Cape. The weather's been hot, starting to cool down a little bit, so it should be ideal for racing. And yes, we're looking forward to a good 9-race program, 1 or 2 really challenging races for punters, but here and there, hopefully some horses that will arrive.
Race number 1 is a maiden juvenile plate for the fillies, set to be run over the 1200 meter trip. And race number 1 jumps at 20 past 12. Your favorite is Tuscan Romance at 16 to 10. Babelicious is at 7 to 2. In the green zone, 5 to 1. Miss World at 6 to 1. My only weakness yet to declare a rider for this 2-year-old daughter of One World. 800,000 rand purchase, and she's found quite a lot of support in the market. 33 to 1 into 10 to 1 already for Adam Marcus. It's then 12 to 1 and better ball those. Now when it comes to the juveniles, we know that experience counts for a lot, and this filly Babelicious, there was a bit of talk for on debut when beaten behind Sahara Cat, and then last time out when going off as a well-fancied favourite, she failed to get the job done. She goes over 1200 meters, a distance that could suit her quite nicely. And is she the one to beat in your opinion, or you would number 5 Tuscan Romance after the form was franked last week?
I think you have to be in the camp of number 5 Tuscan Romance. Very good debut, and as you say, Miss Argonaut, who ran quite a long way behind her in 4th spot, came out to beat the boys in her next start. So that form, as you've mentioned, has been franked. So Tuscan Romance does go out as the top selection, but as you said, Babelicious was very, very disappointing in her second start. We made her a good thing that day. She let the side down after a promising second behind Sahara Cat, is now a multiple winner. So when Babelicious finished 5 lengths behind Gimme Fabulous last time in the green zone, was well in front of her in second. So strictly on the form, number 10 in the green zone's got to beat number 3 Babelicious, but you and I and many others suspect that Babelicious was well below best on that occasion. So Tuscan Romance on top within the green zone, and Babelicious to chase her home. But as you say, there's quite a few first-timers that could attract attention. Number 1, My Only Weakness. She is a nice type of filly. She could need the run, perhaps the experience first time out. Hush Money, positive comments coming out of the Justin Snaith stable. Also number 13, Back at the George. Dean Canema suggesting they're expecting a very good run. Improvement to come from number 7, Miss World. She also comes out of the dark winter form line. Was under 3 lengths behind Tuscan Romance, but 2-year-olds can certainly improve rapidly from one run to the next. So number 7, Miss World, has got to be considered for your trifecta and quartet calculation. So it's quite a nice quartet race. I would suggest you play it quite aggressively with number 5, Tuscan Romance, to win. 3 Babelicious and 10 in the green zone to run second, and then maybe load up for the 3rd and 4th placing from amongst those first timers and 1 or 2 others that can improve.
Yeah, it's a race that if you manage to find a few outsiders for that 3rd and 4th position, as you heard from Graham, it could be the quartet race and the quartet that you want to catch and start your day off on a winning note. But that's race number 1. Number 5, Tuscan Romance, the top selection. Moving along to race number 2 on the program, and race 2 will be the start of the bipod, 1,000 meters the distance. This is the KP Stakes. 12:55 is the off time, and the Abdicator is your favorite, even money favorite. Poroshka at 7 to 2, Southern Skies at 5 to 1, Bluff on Bluff at 6 to 1. It's an 8 to 1 and better ball those. Now the Abdicator holds a computer form sprint entry, which is interesting. He's going to obviously need to up his game if he is to be competitive in that Group 1 up in the high felt. But what's your thoughts on the second race? He's the one that they all need to beat here.
Yes, clearly the Abdicator, the one to beat. This is the first leg of the bipod, small field of 7. I did chat to Brett Crawford. Yes, he does hold a computer form sprint entry, but clearly he's going to need to win and win well in some style for him to be considered for a raid on the high felt. So Clearly, the abdicator, they're expecting him to win. They're expecting him to win well. I think they're probably going to revert to their previous tactics of giving him his head from the start. Last time out, he was held up for the first time in his career, midfield, a couple of lengths off the leaders. He did move through well at the 200-meter mark. I thought he was going to win, but he was outrun late by tough terrain, but he's holding his form well. But I'm not going to banker him in the bipot. There's that old racing expression, the smaller the field, the bigger the upset. And if you go through the form lines, there's not much to choose between him at these weights. There's not much to choose between him and Bluff and Bluff. Back in December, Bluff and Bluff beat the Abdicator. Prior to that, the Abdicator beat Bluff and Bluff. And so it goes on. But they're never too far apart. And clearly the Abdicator's got to give Bluff and Bluff 7.5 kilograms. Now with Bluff and Bluff, what you see is what you get. There's no improvement to come. But he's very solid, he's very game, he's very consistent. I'm expecting the Abdicator to win the race ahead of number 6 Bluff and Bluff and number 4 Piroshka. But I'm going to hedge my bipod bets by not bankering the Abdicator, include both numbers 2 and 6, because I think at the weights and on all the collateral form, there's not too much to choose between the Abdicator and Bluff and Bluff.
Graham, what do you make of riding arrangements? Because obviously Loom Courtois, he's stable to Brett Crawford, and I know that Richard is 1-from-1 aboard the Abdicator, but Louis rides for Vaughan Marshall here with number 5 Dumbledore, and I know it's been happening maybe a bit of late where Richard sort of rides for Brett and Louis takes another ride in the race. What do you make of it?
Yeah, not sure, to be honest, but clearly Richard Ferree rides on more than just a few occasions for Brett Crawford and has a magnificent strike rate. They've combined 26 times, and on 10 occasions, which is more than 30%, they've ended up in the winner's enclosure. So Richard won on the Abdicator 2 runs back when beating Future Variety. So perhaps there's future thoughts on Richard riding the horse perhaps in Durban or Highveld or wherever else. But yes, obviously we all understand that Louis Cottwa is a stable jockey, but on this occasion we just need to accept that Richard's, because he won on the horse 2 runs back, he's back in the saddle.
Let's see how horse number 2, the Abdicator, goes in race number 2, and if he can get that 4th career victory under the belt. Moving along to race number 3, 1100 meters, the trip, maiden plate for fillies and mares. 1:30 is the off time. It is the start of the place accumulator, and your favorite is Illerix at 15-10, Hanging Rock at 5-2, Beijing Boulevard at 5-1. It's 7-1 First Masterpiece, 8-1, and Better Ball. Those now. Your favorite, Illerix, last time out, I was surprised that Lady Loxton managed to get her job done, because Lady Loxton had 8 or 9 starts and she hadn't finished in the top 4, and all of a sudden Richard Ferree aboard and he makes all the difference, and she was narrowly denied, caught in the shadows of the post, and she can obviously get the job done in this contest, and I think that she'll run well. But this horse, Hanging Rock, returning off a layoff, if she's fit and well, she could certainly run a nice race. And then you've got this filly, Lucy Rocket, who we both thought last time out could be the value in the race behind Captain's Destiny. She didn't really put her best foot forward, but she's a horse that can bounce back, and at 8-1 she could certainly represent the value.
Yes, I think you've picked on the 3 leading candidates in this race, the opening leg of the place accumulator. Last time out, as you mentioned, Illerix was beaten by the formless Lady Loxton. She was giving away 4.5 kilograms. That was one of those open maidens. This is a proper maiden. They're all at level weights. Illerix has got to be the top choice. She's finished second in the last 2 starts. She's clearly not going to Hollywood. She's well exposed. This will be her 10th start in the maiden ranks. She's definitely vulnerable. But I think in what is a modest lineup, I'm going to take my chances and banker Illerix in the bipot. Hanging Rock, as you've mentioned, has to be a threat. Hasn't been seen since December, but clearly done enough to suggest that there's a lot of improvement to come, so she could be a threat to Illerix. And then, as you mentioned, number 2, Lucy Rocket, her first 2 starts were very promising, and as she's more lightly raced, one would expect her to have more scope for improvement, but that run behind Captain's Destiny was a little disappointing. I think she's going to run better. I think she's going to make her way into the frame, but my top choice would be number 9, Illerix, ahead of number 7, Hanging Rock, and number 2, Lucy Rocket. Obviously, number 4, Beijing Boulevard, is a first-timer in the betting, so the pedigree suggests we'd want to go a little bit further. Spirit Guide was also disappointing last time out. At first, Masterpiece can well improve further to make her way into the top 4. But I do think Ellerix, initially I thought this 1100 meters might be a little on the sharp side for her, but perhaps racing down the straight is her game. Her last 2 starts have been much better than her previous races around the turn. So perhaps Ellerix is more comfortable going down the straight, and I think whatever happens, she'll give us a grand run for our money, and I do think that she is the one they're all going to have to beat.
Number 9, 15 to 10 in the market. That's the top choice, followed by numbers 7 and 2. Race number 4, the start off the pick 6, 1600 meters a trip. Maiden plate for fillies and mares, 2:05 is the off time. And your favorite is number 8, Plum Pudding. From the Andre Nel yard, corner offer takes a ride after 2 seconds in her last 2 starts. It's 5-2 about number 3, Ticking Bomb. It's then 33 to 10 about number 2, St. Bridget, and then it's 7-1 and better bar those. Now number 8, Plum Pudding. Last time out, she just found one too good in the form of Hampstead Heat. She goes over the same track and trip, and she is no doubt the filly that they all need to set their sights on here.
No doubt about that, Rahil. When structuring my bipod, which we'll come to later on, gone light in the first 3 legs. You might even choose to bank at the abdicator in the opening leg, where I've covered with Bluff, and then I'm bankering Ellerix, and here I'm bankering number 8, Plum Pudding, because I think the last 3 legs of the bipod, and obviously those races all form part of the pick 6, are quite competitive, and we'll get to those in a moment. But 8 Plum Pudding is doing everything right. Lightly raced, 4 starts, runner-up in the last 2. Certainly appreciated stepping up to the 1400 and the 1600 meters. Does have a bit of a wide draw to overcome. Ticking Bomb with Richard Faria aboard, a significant jockey booking in the sense that he's retaining the ride. He obviously feels something there. He's ridden Ticking Bomb in the last 2 starts, went 2nd and 4th. Back aboard for the 3rd time in a row. That is a clear indication that he believes that Ticking Bomb could win in the right sort of field, and this might be the right sort of field and will make her presence felt, but I do prefer the chances of Plum Pudding. St. Bridget was not too far behind Plum Pudding last time out, and definitely has a chance again. She's also improving, the daughter of Master My Fate, also fairly lightly raced, so there's still a bit of upside for number 2, St. Bridget. $1 Million Girl seems quite well held on the evidence of that form. There's not too much to write about the balance of the field, so I'm going to take my chances with number 8, Plum Pudding. I think the first half of the card does appear to be quite punter-friendly. The juvenile race looks as if the principal runners will go well, the abdicator, then Ellerix, and maybe 1 or 2 others, and Plum Pudding here, because things get a little bit more complicated in the second half of the program. So we've got to take our chances by going a little lighter early on. So rowing in with number 8, Plum Pudding, with a fair degree of confidence.
Andre Nel, corner offer. Let's hope that they can get Plum Pudding into the winner's enclosure in the opening leg of the pick 6. Race number 5, the start of Jackpot 1, 1600 meters a trip, 14:40 is the off time. And your favorite is number 3 at 3-1, Nocturnal Flight at 33 to 10, Apache Chief 7-2, 4-1 about number 9, and then it's 8-1 and better bar those. Now this horse, Apache Chief, last time out from an 11 out of 16 draw, he made very, very good headway. Draw 1 in a maiden plate where there's it's not an open maiden, so obviously the weights are the same here. So I'm going to row in with number 1, Apache Chief. I think that it could be his day to shine on Saturday.
This is a very open maiden plate. As you said, it's a proper maiden plate. They're all meeting at level weights, 1600 meters. Apache Chief is a draw strike, as you mentioned, 16 out of 16 in his 3rd last start, 12 out of 14 penultimate start, 11 out of 16 in his last run, cracks the inside gates. He's got decent form. So clearly Apache Chief is one of the leading lights in the race. Number 2, Champanel, well exposed, but I think might run well from the inside gates. Damio is your early favourite, more lightly raced. Interesting, in his penultimate start was over 1200 metres behind Riverstone. That's turned out to be a very, very strong form line. and then stepped out over the 1600 meters to run second to Blue Bay. Now, just how strong that form line is going to turn out to be is open to question, but one can argue that this is a similar type of race. You can argue that is by Vercingetorix out of a very good mare juxtaposed, that there's only upside for number 3, Damio. He's also well drawn in gate 3, so he is going to be my marginal first choice, but not with the same degree of confidence as earlier in the program. I think this race there are many with chances. Nocturnal Flight, the form doesn't jump out at you, but penultimate start, fourth to Aspect, who's come out to win again and runs on this card. And then last night as a maiden, ran in the Gold Rush beyond Rapidash against Winners. Yes, he was quite far back, but certainly a big drop in class, and perhaps Nocturnal Flight is starting to come to hand. Forthcoming, well held by Damio on the Blue Bay run, but might be able to improve the run behind the Grey King. He's never really reproduced, but if he suddenly reproduced that run, then Forthcoming could be involved. Richard Ferree takes the ride again on Mr. Belvedere. Got to be there and thereabouts. Moremi Gorge can also improve. So I do think this is a more complicated maiden plate. I'm going with number 3, Damio, to beat number 6, Nocturnal Flight. Number 2, Champanelle, and number 1, Apache Chief. Those would be the leading ones for me, but there are others with chances.
That's number 3, the top selection here for Graham, and maybe numbers 1 and 3, horses that you can play around, some exactors, swingers, and maybe play these 2 horses for that first position in your quartet. But let's see how the first leg of the jackpot does unfold on Saturday. Race number 6, jackpot 2 gets underway, 1800 meters a trip, Cape B Stakes, and it's the off time is at 3:15. It does look to be quite a competitive race. Ale Maurice at 4-1, 9-2 about Gimme More Time. Time for Love at 9-2, Kitchakal at 6-1. It's 8-1 Katsu, then it's 12-1 and Better Bar Those. Now, Graham, this is where things start to hot up and get more competitive. What's your thoughts on the 6th race?
Very open, very tough race. As you said, I think races 6, 7, and 8 are all very difficult. And this certainly, you've got to go wide here. My top choice would be number 4, Time for Love. She's relatively unexposed. She started late as a 4-year-old with her opening race in August of last year. She's never missed the frame. Yes, she carries a kilo over for the services of Njorka, but still only 52.5 to shoulder. She is, along with Broadway Girl, the best weighted in this race because of the fact that the fillies get an extra 3 kilograms, and we've seen the fillies do well in these type of races. Ale Maurice, clearly back to form. There's no reason why he shouldn't get the 1800 meters. Richard Ferree retains the ride, so got to be one of the principal runners in the race, number 6, Ale Maurice. Give Me More Time, won over 2200 last time out, but I think he's equally effective over this trip. Gentleman Joe, well held, you'd think, by both Katsu and Time for Love, but he's got a nice draw, and you can never ignore Gentleman Joe. Then Kitchakal is an interesting runner for me. I think he's really coming well. I think the Gareth Van Sales stable in Cape Town is coming well. He's drawn a little wide. He goes the trip for the second time in his career. I think now that he's matured a little more, I think 1800 meters will be within his compass. Number 11, Kitchakal for me. And number 12, Katsu, yes. Time for Love is weighted to turn the tables on Katsu. This time he's drawn out wide, but he's such a game runner, he's such a good runner, and he's clearly talented that you really can't ignore Katsu. So I'm going as wide as 6 horses in the bipot, numbers 1, 3, 4, 6, 11 and 12. But that's not to say there aren't others with chances. Game Suit can surprise. Coronation Time is normally there and thereabouts. Royal Watch, the same comment. So it's a very deep race and a very complicated race as far as the jackpots and the pick sixes are concerned. I'm just hoping that 6 horses will be enough to get me through the bipot, but I think you'll get a good run out of number 4, Time for Love. If I had to narrow that list down to 3 selections, it would be Time for Love, ahead of number 6, Ale Maurice, and number 11, Kitchakal.
3, 6 and 11 for Graham if he had to go a bit light in race number 6. Very trappy contest, and a race where you could get the result that you want.
Did I say 3, 6 and 11? 4, 6 and 11. Time for Love, Ale Maurice, and Kitchakal. Those would be my top 3.
Yeah, 4, 6 and 11. Time for Love. I didn't even realize that as well, but yeah, that's 4, 6 and 11. Time for Love. Let's see how the filly does go taking on the boys. Race number 7, class 4, 1400 meters. 15:55 is the off time, And Oliver is your 7-2 favorite. Aspect is at 4-1, 5-1 about Kabona Lesedi, 11-2 about Michael Faraday. It's then 8-1 and better bar those. Now it's another race that does look to be quite trappy. Number 4 Oliver ran a good race last time out behind Big Unit, and he's a horse that seems to be holding form quite nicely. He remains on a mark of 77, and he'll no doubt have solid claims here. Number 9 Aspect, he's in a good space at the moment. He seems to enjoy running from the front, and he's gone up 6 points for his latest victory, so he's obviously going to need to up his game. And unfortunately, Master of Paris didn't do much for that form line last week. And then you've got this horse that continues to keep me interested, and he is at 20-1 in the market. I see he's found support from 40-1. If that is accurate and spot on, well then he's definitely a horse that could well be overpriced, because this is a type of race where he's capable. And the horse I'm talking about is number 6 Monumental. He's a win over Track and Trip. He continues to drop in the ratings, and given that you've got Craig Bantam aboard, you're obviously going to get a slightly better price. And I think he can start to improve and show what he showed early on as a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old.
Well, you'll remember I was actually quite keen on Monumental when he reverted to the 1200 last time out, and he never showed. He was held up towards the back of the field from the wide draw. Afterwards, they all went down the outside. I don't know why he just didn't make a dash to the outside, but like you have been waiting for Monumental, who's dropping down the ratings, as you've mentioned, to suddenly sort of capture the form that he showed early in his career. And I wouldn't be surprised. He's the kind of horse that can turn his form around. We know that he's got the ability, he's certainly got the pedigree. Whether he does that in this race, well, that's a possibility. It's a Class 4 handicap. Anything can happen. As far as the bipod is concerned, I've gone with the top 4 in the betting. But that is not to say there isn't the potential for an upset. We've seen in Class 4 and Class 5 handicaps in particular that you can get form reversals. So I've gone with number 1 Kebel and Sedi from the inside gate, number 4 Oliver, number 9 Aspect, and number 11 Michael Faraday. Aspect, as you say, he's now on a hat-trick. He's gone up in the ratings. But is he ahead of the handicapper still? We know the history of this horse. He showed them plenty as a young horse. He required quite a serious operation. Because of the talent that he showed them, they decided to proceed with the operation. And, well, they've been justified, because since coming back to racing, apart from that very first run on the 10th of December, which was down the straight, he's won his last 2 over 1,400 metres. And he could be a really good handicapper in the making. So Aspect might well still be ahead of the handicapper. Gets the benefit of the doubt. Oliver has 3 placings from 4 starts over this Track and Trip in second spot, and might well have to settle for second spot again, but clearly is a principal runner. 1 Kebel and said he's not too consistent, but can deliver on his day. And we were both keen on Michael Faraday when he won last time on the 31st of January. That's now almost 2 months ago, when he just got the better of Fibonacci. Well, that was a pretty good win. Fibonacci has held that form well and was a good second in a much stronger race last time, Fibonacci. So don't be surprised if Michael Faraday does go back-to-back. Now, you mentioned Monumental as a potential upset. Heart Stealer could be a potential upset. Dancing to the Light might have scope for more improvement. Comes out of that Riverstone form again, which has turned out to be quite a strong form line. And we've been waiting many moons for Mount Pleasant to find his best form. I think it might be a little on the sharp side for Mr. Monaco. So, yeah, the big danger could be Monumental if he suddenly decides to put it all together. But I'm going with 9, 4, 1, and 11 as my top 4 selections, and those are the 4 that I'm including in the last leg of the bipod.
It could certainly be a race that goes according to the way the market has it, or number 6 Monumental can put his best foot forward and run a real cracker. But Graham and I, we're certainly going to be keeping a very close eye on this 3-year-old son of Give Me the Green Light in race 7. Moving along to race number 8, 1,400 meters a trip. This is a class 3 contest, and your favorite is number 7 Fun Zone, along with number 11 Greeting My Master, both at 7-2. San Pedro is at 4-1, Cheeky Laddie at 6-1, along with Solomon Seal, and then it's 10-1 and better bar those. Now, this horse, Greeting My Master, last time out he ran in the Selengoa. He was beaten behind Shlui. He is returning off a layoff, and he does have a deep draw to contend with, but he's got Richard Fourie, who's a master at negotiating deep draws. Well, this was number 3, Solomon Seal. He's of some interest because after his maiden win, they threw him into a graduation which looked to be quite competitive. There was a bit of support around him, some talk as well, and he was far from disgrace behind It's Raining William, who's rated a lot higher than the runners that he does meet here. And then last time out behind Cafe Culture, when trying to make all from an 11 draw, he was only beaten 5.5 lengths, and we saw Cafe Culture come through to run a good second last weekend. And from a 3 draw with 54 kgs on the back, I thought he could be effective here.
No doubt that number 3, Solomon Seal, from a good draw, is going to make his presence felt. I'm not sure whether they know how to ride this horse. He likes to go forward. That's how he won his maiden when beating Blue Bay 3.5 lengths. Then he sat back a little bit behind It's Raining William, which, as you mentioned, could well be his best career run to date. That's turned out to be a very strong form line, that graduation plate, that's yielded a couple of winners. Then he went forward last time out and petered out in the closing stages. So maybe he'll be held up a little bit, or try to control an easy pace from the start, which is not that easy to do over 1,400 meters. So, but he's definitely a runner. I think you're right. There's something about number 3, Solomon Seal, that established himself as a horse that is not going to retire a one-time winner. You mentioned Greeting My Master, young horse, coming back since November, so he's been off the track for a while, got the worst of the draw, but Richard Fourie is a significant jockey booking here again. He's clearly very talented. He ran second behind Questioning on debut, but then a close-up third behind Schleswig in a progress race, comfortably beaten by Questioning in the Cape Classic. So it's going to be interesting. He was gelded on the 10th of January, 2023, so he came out as a gelding right from the start. So why he's been off the track for so long is curious, but clearly he's a horse with ability. But this is a very, very tricky race, Raheel. There are very few runners in this race that you can comfortably draw lines through. Kariaki can surprise from the inside gate. We've discussed Solomon Seal. Scalini, course and distance, 3 starts for 2 wins. Bardolino, win in the mood. Fun Zone, the filly in the race, seldom runs a bad race. San Pedro has been something of a revelation. He goes forward and he stays on strongly. He's done a lot better than I ever thought San Pedro was going to do. When he started out, I thought he was a bit of a poly specialist when he won back-to-back races in April and May last year on the poly track in KwaZulu-Natal. But he certainly turned out to be a solid handicapper. But my value in the race is going to be number 8, Nevada King. I think his course and distance form speaks volumes. He's had 4 starts with 2 wins, a third and a fourth. He's never been out of the frame over the course and distance. His last number of runs have been over 1,600 meters. So it's almost a year since he last ran over 1,400 meters. And I think in a very tough race, at around 12 to 1, possibly even longer by race time, he represents nice each-way value. So for me, I'm going to go each way with number 8, Nevada King. But it's a very, very tough race to narrow down.
Yeah, his last winning mark was the 84, and Graham could be onto something here with the Soil Son of the United States. Course and distance suits, and he could represent some decent value in a race where there does look to be a bit of speed on, something that he'll certainly enjoy, and he'll be doing his best work at the finish. We're going to move along to race number 9, 1,200 meters the distance, a class 4 contest for fillies and mares, the final race on the day. Nordic Quest 3 to 1, Pineapple Mint Green at 9 to 2. 6 to 1 about F8, Mia's Harper, Where's the Party, and then it's 10 to 1 and better bar those. Now number 3, Nordic Quest, she's holding form nicely. She beat Pineapple Mint Green in a penultimate start. The form was reversed last time out, and let's see how they go in what could be their third matchup. And on their last start, Pineapple Mint Green's gone up 2, and this filly Nordic Quest has gone up 1.5, so gone up half. So strictly at the weight, she's a kg and a half better off, so she should turn it around. But I thought the manner in which Pineapple Mint Green won was quite encouraging.
Yes, we were quite strong at Pineapple Mint Green that day, and she delivered at a nice price. I said races 6, 7, and 8 were the tough races. I'm not suggesting this is not a tough race, but I am expecting the form to hold up. And Nordic Quest and Pineapple Mint Green, as you've mentioned, nothing to choose between them. They do set the standard. And when you look through the balance of the field, yeah, there are 1 or 2 that could bounce back. But I'm expecting the winner to come from one of number 3, Nordic Quest, and number 6, Pineapple Mint Green. The form book suggests, as you've mentioned, there's nothing much to choose between them. I was also impressed with the way that Pineapple Mint Green finished off a race last time out. But clearly Nordic Quest is Candice Bass-Robinson has made no secret of the fact that she thinks quite a lot of this filly, and they believe that she's going to win her way through the division. So if they're correct, then this Class 4 handicap is well below where she's expected to end up her career. But so Nordic Quest and Pineapple Mint Green, I'm not going to split them. I think they're the obvious top two choices, and I'm not expecting a real upset in this race. So they are the leading charges. But one or two others worth a mention. Number 1, Girl Like Us can improve. Number 8, Grey Cat, seems well held on the basis of the last run, but I think she's better than that. We've all been waiting for Mia's Harper to recover her best form. The Canamere stable at the time was going through a very quiet period. Was only 2.5 lengths behind Pineapple Mint Green last time out. Running on steadily, she could get closer. And Richard Faree partners with number 14, Where's the Party? And she could certainly surprise. But Raheel, you opened up with Nordic Quest and Pineapple Mint Green. I do think they are the two right horses in the race, and I'm expecting the winner to come from one of them, and perhaps Mia's Harper to follow them home.
Yeah, I think it does look to be a race where these two could fight it out, and if you perhaps don't like these two and you're looking for a bit of a result, there are a few horses that could be lurking under the radar for you to include. But just 3 and 6 here in race number 9. We're going to move along to the suggested bet now, and Graham will take us through his suggested bet. And racing on Saturday, 9 races on the program. So Graham, let's listen up to what your suggested bet is.
Yeah, the bipod, as always, starts in race 2 at 12.55, going with numbers 2, The Abdicator, and 6, Bluff on Bluff. Then banker number 9, Ellerix, and banker number 8, Plum Pudding. Now, on the screen, and initially, because we obviously send our bets through quite early for them to be able to capture it all, and I've gone with numbers 2, Champanelle, 3, Damio, and 6, Nocturnal Flight. But after listening to you and after discussing it earlier on, I'm going to definitely add number 1, Apache Chief. So I'm going to go with numbers 1, 2, 3, and 6 in that fourth leg. Then a long list in the first leg, numbers 1, 3, 4, 6, 11, and 12. Time for Love, L.A. Maurice, and Ketchikel, my top 3 amongst those 6. But I'm going wide. And then the last leg, numbers 1, 4, 9, and 11. That's Kevin Lasedi, Oliver, and then also Aspect and Michael Faraday. So that's my suggested bipod. I do think the early part of the card is a little easier on punters. Races 6, 7, and 8 are tough, and then hopefully the last race will be fought out between Nordic Quest and Pineapple Mint Green. But I'm looking for a big run at good odds from Nevada King in the 8th race. Yeah,
Graham has certainly found a couple of nice value horses along the way for us on this 9-race program. A horse like Bluff on Bluff, if he can put his best foot forward, he could be a major runner in leg number 1 of that bipod, which is at 12.55. Graham, thanks very much for your time. Have a wonderful weekend and enjoy racing on Saturday.
Thank you, Raheel. Have a good one.
Thanks very much to Graham Hawkins. All the best with racing out at Hollywoodbets Kenilworth on Saturday. Hopefully it's a profitable day's racing.